They are choosing XRP. Now they're coming back to XRP when they ignored XRP before. Look at that. So they're literally choosing and coming back to XRP now. Good news.
Coming soon from Bank of America and Ripple. We're going to get into what that could possibly be in this video. But first, we're going to talk about stablecoins and how much money big retailers can save. We're talking about billions of dollars per year here. So this is pretty serious. I'm going to give you some really cool information. We're going to look at Walmart. We're going to look at Amazon.
Yeah, again, Walmart still hasn't come in. Amazon hasn't come in. This is, imagine how many transactions they have. Probably total of trillion, at least trillion. How much money is being moved around. Imagine if Ripple got 0.001% fee of that. Wow, that would be amazing for Ripple. They would get so much money together. And again, Ripple could even expand more. And once you get a partnership with Amazon, guys, it's game over because all other companies will want to work with you.
How much money they're actually spending per year on all of these transaction fees and how much they can save by moving to RLUSD. We also have other...
Yeah, I feel like because now we're getting bank partnerships, like the next one is going to be big companies like, you know, Amazon and whatever it is, because we have the utility now. The only thing is Ripple needs to work on actually making these processes and transfers.
Ripple and XRP content in this video. Let's go ahead and start here though.
Report from Bitwise points out that one especially intriguing area to watch is stablecoins and tokenized assets, noting that assets under management soared in recent months and show no signs of slowing. Already, big names are jumping into the space like JP Morgan. Even Walmart and Amazon are reportedly exploring issuing their own stablecoins. So do you think that stablecoin deployments start to take off now across some of the non-traditional, non-crypto native players?
Yeah, absolutely. So the big thing that's going to happen is growth. The US government, which is not like a bullish analyst, says that stablecoins could go from $250 billion to $3 trillion by 2030.
So yeah, they're literally like, I feel like that's their low end prediction. And the US government is not going to lie about it. They're also going to go on a smaller note. So that is the big thing that I'm seeing right now is the US government wants to double down basically on it.
4+ years away, that's a 10 or 12xing of the market. That's an enormous growth. I think they may be undercounting, but even if we get that, it's a massive investment opportunity. You know, do I think we'll see Amazon and Walmart directly issue stablecoins? I'm not sure, but will they get involved by allowing stablecoins to be used?
That's exactly the thing. If they work with Ripple, imagine, even if they make a payment process for XRP, how many people will be using XRP? That's a great use case for buying food or items with XRP.
For paying for things on their site, maybe offering discounts, maybe getting a share of revenue.
If you have a big trading volume, I think it's definitely going to happen for Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP. Again, XRP with the lowest transfer fees. You don't want to pay $20 for sending with Bitcoin. So they're going to do that with XRP. Again, Bitcoin has improved their transfer fees, but the lowest ones will be XRP. And that's where they win.
I think that's what will happen. I think stablecoins are going to fundamentally change the way we do payments in the US, which is hard for people to imagine. But I would take I
feel like it's going to be first US, then all other countries.
Back to previous times, we were able to do things electronically that we previously couldn't. Things like email, disrupting how we move information around the world. Stablecoins are like that for money. It makes the money frictionless, global, and instant. I think it's going to be a major change.
All right, really quickly, before we get to this next segment, let's just better understand how much money are we talking about here. So,
like everybody loves money, and with XRP growing larger, I feel like it's going to be hard for Walmart and Amazon to ignore it. But yeah, just with that revenue, that means they have to do more than 1 trillion in sales. With 680 trillion revenue means they have to do way more in sales, right? To cover that cost. So we are going to be seeing probably $1 trillion partnership in that way if this gets approved, like depending on how many people use it, up to $1 trillion.
Walmart and Amazon. Walmart does $680 billion in sales. Amazon, $650 billion as of Q1 2025.
So that's not sales, that's actual revenue. So I feel like the sales are going to be much higher, like 2 billion or 2 trillion or 3 trillion.
Insane amount of money, right? And typically, look at Visa, MasterCard, and Amex. These are the top 3 used here in America. So this is what we're going to look at. Visa, basically their fees are between 1.29% to
So XRP would be literally 0%. Again, this could be, from what I understand, there could be trillion and trillion. Like, that's revenue, right? How much they make, but how much do they sell? Like, they profit probably from partnership, from products. So here's the real thing. They probably get a special deal with Amazon, like 0.5% or 0.3%. XRP could be offering for like 0.10%. Imagine, like, this could overtake Swift. Like, it could overtake all these transfers.
Insane amount of money, right? And typically, look at Visa, MasterCard, and Amex. These are the top 3 used here in America. So this is what we're going to look at. Visa, basically their fees are between 1.29% to 2.6%. It can go higher for riskier transactions. I don't know what that means, right? Like, you either have the money or you don't have the money. What's riskier? All right. MasterCard 129 to 275 rates was similar to Visa, though assessment fees recently rose slightly. So actually MasterCard's bumped up their fees a little bit recently. And Amex, American Express, is 1.43 to 3.
I feel like they get like special fee discounts. I don't think they're paying 2% fee to Visa if you're paying through Amazon. But the thing is, they're still probably paying like 1 billion or something to these companies. They're probably not for free, right? So XRP could be making a way better offer with faster transfers and less transaction fees, because they're going to pay less transaction fees than Swift is right now, or Visa. Visa processing this probably costs money too. So XRP could be winning, just starting with banks now and going for, you know, that extra revenue later on. Wow. That's a lot to take in, I know, guys, but it's the big news that we have.
3.0, usually about 1% higher than Visa or MasterCard. They do allow negotiated fees, though. Large merchants like Amazon and Walmart often negotiate lower rates, typically 1.4 to 2%.
So yeah, I feel like XRP would be making a negotiate fee like 0.2%. Imagine if they come up with 0.2% fee instead of like 1% fee for Walmart and Amazon. That's where they would make most of their money. And they would be forced to lose their partner if they can transfer it, but they're working on actually having these type of partnerships.
Effective rate for context, smaller businesses, 2.5 to 3.5%. And so just to take a look here, if either company processes 80% of revenue through cards, conservative assumptions is this is how much money they'd be losing per year. So at 2%, it's about $10 billion, 10.9, 10.4. At 1.5%, you're talking about 8 and 7 billion. And at 1%, 5.4 or 5.20. So it's either going to be between 1 and 2% here. They could be losing between $5 and $10 billion per year on those fees. You see where Amazon and MasterCard are freaking like, this is why you saw such competition in the market for Amazon and for Visa and MasterCard to go and buy blockchain infrastructure companies or partner with Stellar and Ripple and all these other companies, because they need this technology to survive. Because think about this, stablecoins could basically make Visa and MasterCard
like stablecoins are becoming the big thing. If the government is saying they're becoming the big thing, if Trump is talking about stablecoins every day, what do you think is going to happen to stablecoins? Of course, they will explode.
Right? They have this older network that nobody really cares to use anymore. So what
the technology is advancing so much faster in the last 10 years, especially post 2022, is you're seeing all these transfers processing and, you know, getting more competition. And that's what's happened with banks. You know, banks 20 years ago were all fine, but with crypto now, with technology, that's where they have a real problem.
What is going to happen here? You're going to have Visa and MasterCard using stablecoins to settle these transactions. I'd imagine these fees will be even lower, but they're still going to have some profit there. All right. And just to give you some additional context here, potential savings with stablecoins or RLUSD. Stablecoins Walmart or Amazon issued or RLUSD could eliminate most interchange assessment or processing fees. On-chain transaction fees is usually under a penny.
So yeah, I feel like this will not even be a penny. It will be like less than. And that is the big thing, that, you know, XRP will have the bargaining power. Like, what these companies care about is saving transaction fees, and XRP is going to offer it to them.
Effectively, zero compared to billions in legacy card fees. So you go from paying billions to maybe paying a few $1,000. Like, really, that's how much we're talking in savings. It's going to be insane. And you look at like Costco or Kroger or Alibaba, all of these big retailers are looking for an edge, and stablecoins could be those edge. Let's go ahead and finish this clip off.
And what does this mean for your two market leaders in this space, Tether and USDC?
Yeah, huge market opening. I mean, again, the government says this will 12x over the next 4 years. You might wonder, how will they compete with JP Morgan, with Bank of America, with other financial giants that come into the market? The history of financial innovation says, yes, those giants get a stake, but the crypto native or the native companies that built that industry do very well. As you know, I come from an ETF background. The largest ETF company today is BlackRock, but they had to acquire that firm because it grew outside of the traditional mutual fund industry. Often these people discount these native players. I think Circle is a generational company. I think
people forget is that most of the companies that really grew is the ones that took risk. XRP took risk. It had a huge lawsuit. Amazon, PayPal almost went bankrupt, I'm pretty sure, or had a lot of financial stress. Elon Musk said that. There were a lot of these companies that took risk, and we guys don't even realize it. XRP is following the same way. It's not trying to replicate someone else's doing, and that's why people don't like it. People don't like crypto because it is changing the world, and people don't like change, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Coinbase is a generational company. I think it could one day be $1 trillion company if it continues to execute year after year. So I wouldn't discount these native players and assume JP Morgan will waltz in and own the market. That's not how innovation works.
All right. I guess, you're getting interviewed live on TV. You probably don't want to admit that Tether, is probably not going to be allowed here in the United States because of their practices not reporting their, information. I don't know. I guess that's why I don't get.
If Tether is not going to be allowed, then we're going to be seeing, XRP overtaking that market.
Asked to do interviews on live TV because I would be giving people the context and the facts. I guess you don't have enough time for all that, right? All right. Crypto Erie says, a big congrats to the team and the ecosystem. Doppler Finance introduces RLUSD Vault. Starting today, users can deposit RLUSD, a US dollar peg stablecoin introduced by Ripple, into Doppler.
So yeah, this is like having a crypto saving account. So we literally got a crypto savings account, which people had for the banks. Now we're having this done in crypto. Again, very bullish.
And earn RLUSD. So people can earn RLUSD on their RLUSD. Basically, it's a savings account for your stablecoins. That's pretty cool. All right. So Chad Steingraber says the announcement will rock the cryptosphere is coming. The announcement that will rock the cryptosphere is coming. And so he believes that information about Bank of America holds an XRP integrated wallet patent. This is going to be announced, or something of the sort is going to be announced. This is back in 2021, just to give you some context here. And it says innovation example, Ripple cross-border solution, proof of concept, Ripple's distributed ledger solution, remedies legacy correspondent banking infrastructure challenges, and provides bi-directional messaging to enhance payment tracking, data transmission, and enables enhanced certainty in settlement. It talks about cross-border treasury payments, foreign exchange market maker, and cross-border treasury receipts. And it says potential benefits, simplified correspondent banking model, transparency in payments, potential U.S. liquidity provider, reduced investigation in repairs, maybe? I cut off there. And it's kind of, here's the DLT. I know it's kind of a fuzzy picture here. I did throw this into Perplexity to see if there's any other additional context. Why this is important. Bank of America is one of the largest banks in the United States, and their formal presentation of a Ripple cross-border solution highlights institutional validation and of Ripple's approach to payment.
I feel like this is a bit old, but a lot of banks, this was before the partnerships came in. So Crypto Sensei didn't mention that, which I wanted to mention that this paper came before we got the big Ripple partnerships. Again, the Ripple partnerships were this year to date because, for this exact reason, because of the lawsuit being over. And before everybody was saying, hey, if you join us, this is what we can provide for you. Ripple was literally saying, but no banks wanted to work with someone with a huge lawsuit on their back. Now with this over, this document makes a lot more sense, right? Because before it was just like a proof of concept. And now it's becoming a reality.
Showing they have seriously evaluated, tested, or piloted Ripple's technology. So you do have one of the biggest banks in the world using Ripple's technology actively. And I
feel like this Bank of America partnership is literally what started Ripple's rise to $3, because they could get a lot of other partnerships.
Bank of America will make some pretty big announcements here soon, hopefully mentioning Ripple or XRP by name. That could really send us.
I feel like that will happen after September, probably next year. Probably with Ripple IPO, they're still doing regulation stuff behind. So I don't think it will be approved yet. I don't think it will be mentioned yet until we get September stuff coming on.
To a different level of price for XRP. Addressing legacy banking infrastructure, the slide notes that Ripple's remedies legacy correspondent banking infrastructure challenges, which would include slow settlement, high costs, data transmission issues, and lack of transparency. It does talk about the transition from linear to simultaneous settlement. The diagram compares today's cumbersome multi-step cross-border payment process with a potential future model using Ripple's DLT for simulations simultaneously. I did not sleep last night. I do apologize. Luna was sick and we were up all night. So bear with me. Near real-time settlements, this shift can reduce costly reconciliation errors and delays. And then I said, why is this important? B of A investigated or piloted Ripple. Focus on transparency, simplification, and
So this one, Bank of America was specifically interested in the two-way messaging and certainty of settlement made possible by RippleNet or similar solutions. So yeah, it's very hard to understand. But what I'm trying to tell you guys here is literally the bank said, so I'm trying to summarize what the document said from the AI, is the bank said to Ripple that it's like a nice product. And after that, after Ripple showed them what a nice product it was, they got that partnership. So that's the important factor we can get from this video. I feel like that's what I wanted to take on this, because a lot of people don't realize that the banks are literally saying that Ripple is good. We heard that already, that the banks are talking how Ripple is awesome, right?
Transparency, that's a little, what? I mean, okay. Ripple's strategic institutional momentum, market participation, market perception, and industry signaling, and institutional liquidity role. You also have some information here. Nearly 1 billion USD in XRP is now being held as treasury by public companies, including Ripple. So here's kind of where the money is. See, these investments are companies that have announced that they're going to be investing, but I haven't seen the investing happen yet, or haven't seen any updates on this. So saying nearly 1 billion USD in XRP is now being held as treasury in public companies, that's misleading. That's actually not right. That's not right. They announced it. They have not bought yet. Some of them.
So yeah, this is the most important factor. This is the good news, that they have not bought it yet. Literally means that the price can go up. 1 billion in USD is now being held as treasury by public companies, excluding Ripple. So yeah, they announced that they will buy, but the good news is they can buy more. And once they buy in 2025, 2026, this can pump the price further. So this is good news that they haven't bought yet, because we already got to $3.5, almost $4 without even institutions buying. That's what I've been telling you guys. Pretty good news if you ask me.
I think like Vivo Power has done something, but I've never seen any money from Trident Digital or any updates after they made the announcement. So just food for thought.
But yeah, $500 million, if they got to buy even a small amount, that would be tons of money, right? But I don't think they have 500 million available. So yeah, could be just like article to get more hype as well.
Has seen Ripple's national bank,
who is the retired vice chairman of, this is literally the bank they partnered up with Ripple.
Bank info, but I looked through their OCC application today and found who the organizers of the trust bank are. One name struck me out was Tim Keeney, who is retired vice chair of BNY Mellon, who was responsible for custody of 25% of global institutions.
I feel like those who have global institutional assets understand that tokenization is the future. That's why they're partnering up, right?
Institutional assets while he sat there, or while he was there. It makes a lot of sense seeing Ripple partner with BNY Mellon to custody. Just thought I'd pass it on. A list of proposed organizations below does talk about Jack McDonald, will be RNTB's Ripple's National Trust Bank president with over 25 years experience in banking, financial services, and trust activities. Mr. McDonald brings significant knowledge and leadership skills to the bank, or Ripple's bank. Mr. McDonald currently serves as president of SCTC and senior vice president of stablecoins at Ripple.
Yeah, so another thing I'd like to point out is a lot of these people who are serving here and there and partnered with Ripple, it's the banking industry is probably much smaller than we think. That's why here, you know, a lot of these banks, you know, he worked at BlackRock, he worked here. I feel like that's very normal when you work at a bank. Like, for sure, BlackRock is like one of the biggest companies. For sure, someone worked at BlackRock. And then people have been saying ex-Ripple employee is going to be working at BlackRock, or ex-BlackRock employee is going to be joining Ripple. I feel like they're going to join anyway because they are fans of Ripple. They are literally working and using the XRP ledger.
I can't say his name. I'm too tired. John will be Ripple's National Bank Trust Chief Operating and Trust Officer, and currently Ripple's Treasurer, Mr. Zavelgia, brings over 20 years of financial planning and consulting experience, yada, yada, yada. There's also Stuart Alvarado. I'm not going to read all Stuart's information. If you want to pause it and read that there, please do. Just get back to Timothy Francis Keeney. We kind of talked about kind of his information and role. I'll include this link below, guys. If you want to read through all of this, please do. I'm just at my...
But I think the most important factor we can take away from here is that the guy they partnered with held 25% of global institutional assets. I feel like he realizes, you know, when he partnered with XRP, that XRP is going to be important. I think that's the most important factor you can get from this. Everything else is like a very, very deep dive and what they did and why this bank is good. So yeah, the big thing here is that Ripple right now is having tons of partnerships with key players and having a lot of connections. And connections are really important if you want a bank partnership. If you want to get Ripple to $20, networking is a super big thing in crypto, right?
Owns 15 million in XRP.
You still need like 20,000 to 60,000 XRP and get more rich, unless the price goes up of XRP. That would be nice.
Here is what they own here. They got Bitcoin. They have USDC.
So yeah, is this the bank owning XRP? So Galaxy owns 15 million XRP. Now, I'm not too sure if Galaxy Digital owns that or are their users owning that. Counterparties as collateral for which Galaxy has control. So that's a very important factor. Any digital assets which Galaxy has pledged collateral and retains control. So yeah, Crypto Sensei or, you know, Good Morning Crypto, they didn't mention that this is people who have deposited to the Galaxy. They have 15 million and they just hold for them. So it's kind of like saying that Coinbase owns 1 billion of Bitcoin when they're holding for other people the Bitcoin, right?
Here you go. Galaxy owns 15 million in XRP. Here is what they own here. They got Bitcoin. They have USDC. So, wow, they have 17,000 Bitcoin. The historical cost only $1.8 million. That was a pretty good buy there, right? And then here's XRP, 15 million. Historical cost 33 grand. Must be nice, man, to spend 30 grand on XRP and now it's worth 15 million. Wow. All right, guys.
So I'm not too sure if that is really that or the people who deposited XRP early have control of that. So there's some XRP whales that bought it at $30,000 and it's now worth 15 million. I think that's a more possible scenario, like a bunch of people depositing their XRP and now they got rich off of it for a very